Hello everybody, my name is Mega and today we're finally making Bingo Healer! It's so exciting! Everyone loved the Bluey plush I made so much over on TikTok and Instagram that I decided it was about time that I made her sister too. As always, we'll be doing a Bluey themed plushie giveaway, so make sure you stick around till the end of the video to learn more about that. One last thing before we get started, we have to thank our commenting overlords, which today is Shrimpy10. While I still think the darker pink was the right way to go, your comment still makes me as happy as a poor little bug on the wall with everyone to love him at all. I know it doesn't make sense, just go with it. Remember to find this video's secret word and comment it in a way that doesn't let everybody immediately know it's the secret word for the chance to be featured at the start of the next Make a Plushie With Me video. Now let's get into it. Bingo's turnaround was a very quick and easy process. I already had drawn Bluey, and it's essentially just a color shift. Pattern-wise, I will be using the same pattern I did for Bluey, but Bingo should have still been shorter than her sister, since that original pattern was a little too tall. I took off about 3/4 of an inch, but somehow they still ended up the same height. And yes, I know Bingo has shorter limbs than Bluey too. I just didn't think of that part until it was too late to change it. When it comes to fabric, I had to make a little compromise. While I had an okay match for both the dark orange and the cream, the lighter orange was a harder find. I did try buying a lighter fabric for the light bits so I could use my current light orange as my dark orange, but it ended up being too yellow. So this is the best I can do with the type of fabric I'm using for this project. First, we'll cut out our light orange pieces. Now, it has come to my attention that some people are thinking that my videos are tutorials on how to make these plushies when that is fully not the case. Yes, these are called Make a Plushie With Me videos, but that's in the same vein as a Let's Play, where you don't physically have or play the game, just watching someone else play it for a good time and some entertainment. Unfortunately, my patterns are for me alone unless a company buys one or hires me on to make one. And even then, I don't think I would sell most of the patterns I've already made. So it would more so be that second option. That meaning I really do not want people trying to exactly copy my patterns. I 10,000% encourage people to learn how to make their own patterns and designs though, just not directly copying my work, though appropriately credited fan art is always welcome. That being things of a different medium or notably different art style, meaning plushie fan art of my designs is totally okay as long as it's credited and in a notably different art style. For example, a handmade Spider-Gwen bear in the style of a Squishmallow. All that being said, I've decided to cut out most, if not all, of the clips that show my patterns from here on out to help avoid any confusion. And with all that out of the way, we can start our first round of pinning. As you all know, the rounds of pinning are super important, especially in this case. This plush has a very pieced together face that if I were to do one thing out of order, that could ruin everything. Thankfully, I've worked with this pattern before and it should be easy enough because of that. Would you look at that? We're already ready to start sewing. We'll start with the belly and then move on to any and all available cream and orange pieces that need to be attached. Then I moved on to all my darker orange pieces like the back of the head and attaching the insides of the ears. And with those ears done, we can go ahead and start snipping off all of the excess fabric from their various hiding places. Then I'll play in the scraps for a minute before remembering I'm supposed to be working and tossing them in their trash canyon grave. Okay, back to work. Let's pin some pieces together. Now that we have full arms and legs, we'll be pinning them together like we would have if I hadn't had to piece them together. We'll do the same for the tail and the face before I realized something was up. I may have forgotten to cut out a set of ears. Let me just reach into my ear storage and there we go, another set of ear behinds. I was so excited about finding them that I wanted to magic them together right then and there, but my magic knew better than I did and reminded me that they were not in fact meant to go together at this point in time. Whoopsies! I'll just attach the back ones where they're meant to be and then we can continue on with your regularly scheduled content, that being sewing this little pupper plush. I'm only going to sew part of the top of the tail so I can easily add a spot in a minute. Then I'll sew all the light orange bits, stopping just before I hit the cream colored parts. And lastly, I'll sew the face pieces together. With all that done, I'll snap the extra seam allowance off and play in the scraps one last time. Now I need to add Bingo's little tail and back spots. I realize that by making a circle the exact size and shape I want it and then cutting it in half, I'll be subtracting from the middle when I put them together, but I ran out of avoiding bad ideas juice, so we'll just have to go with it this time. I'll sew on the back of the ears to the back of the head first, and then go ahead and sew on those spots. Now, since we're making Bingo Healer, I thought I'd take a page from her playbook and use a random object as a wand to make whatever I want happen. And right now, I want this excess fabric off my soon-to-be Bingo plush. Wow, it worked! Maybe I need to use wands more often. Now I'll pin the rest of that tail together so we can finish up these cream-colored pieces. Going at a steady pace so far, I'll cut off the rest of this seam allowance. And then attach the front of the legs to the front of the body. Now I could start adding the face, but I'm gonna try and avoid that for as long as possible. So let's make a tag. I have to lay out some cardboard and fabric so my cutting mat doesn't bubble up or get set on fire, but then we can go ahead and slap this tag together. We iron it once with the tag backing on and then once without it for a clean finish. I think now's a good time to let you in on the first part of your secret word. That'll be B-R-O. Keep an eye out for the second part of the secret word hidden somewhere in this video. Now, back to the plush. We're only going to need to look at these two pieces for the moment. I'll pin the tag to the front of the body, and then to save time and your sanity from having to watch me measure the same length 10 times in a row, I'll use a little magic to snap the pattern into the embroidery hoop. Now we can embroider. I'll just slip this right in there, take out a couple pins, and now you all enjoy while I hide under my bed like a cat when the vacuum turns on. Bye! Oof, glad that's over. Though it's looking pretty good. Now I'll just slam the other eye in place, peel off the backing, and, hang on, this doesn't look right. Bluey, can you come here for a minute? Yep, that's what I thought. The eyes are too far apart. I'm gonna have to remake the entire front of the head. This is what I get for not writing down measurements the first time. Okay, well, good thing I had my elves working on a backup head after the whole beheading Bluey incident. Now we have a face with the eyes about half an inch closer than before, and so we can finally get to work putting the head together. And since we have the head together, I'll just plop this right on and we're ready to start putting this entire plushie together. When I made Bluey, I felt like her tail was a little too floppy. So this time around, I'm adding a bit of stuffing to Bingo's tail to plump it up a bit more. Now let's get all of that stuff out of the way because it's foam time! I'll be cutting some foam inserts for the ears to keep them nice and pointy up top. The healers all have very upright ears and Bingo is no exception. The foam was also a bit too thick, so I had to trim it down some. This works fine for my purposes this time around, but I wouldn't recommend this technique if the cut surface of the foam will be visible in any way, shape, or form. Now, with the foam in place, I'll take this over to the sewing machine and very carefully sew around the top edges of the head. With all that fabric and foam, there's a ridiculously high chance of breaking a needle, which may or may not have happened when I made Bluey. Rest in peace, Needle 423. We hardly knew ye. Next up, the arms. Aw, look at that happy little dance. Now we can close her all up. Of course, starting by pinning down the back and sides. Then I'll sew the back, leaving a hole for turning the plush right side too. And real quick, since Bingo won't have a plushie breakdown, if I have one piece of advice to give in this video, it's to please leave a turning hole. Otherwise, you quite literally will not be able to stuff the plush. Doesn't matter what kind of plush you're making, you have to have a turning hole. I make the hole as small as possible while still allowing for the entire plush to be turned right side too, and try to put it in as discreet a location as possible. For Bingo, the hole is on her back, but for something like my old Parasaurolophus plushie, the hole is on one side of the belly gusset. These videos may not be tutorials, but that doesn't mean you can't learn anything from them. That was sewing tips with Micah. Thanks for learning. Now let's get back to the plush. We'll add on the feet and then she'll be ready to turn right side too. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, it's bean time! I'll be adding a tiny bit of stuffing into each of the fingers before adding in the beans to ensure every single one stays the right shape. Beans, while fabulous, do not hold a shape very well. Now it's time to stuff. During this section, I definitely should have moved the camera, but instead, you all get to see Bingo precariously perched on the edge of the desk while I add her stuffing. Now I'll pin on the eyebrows and nose before getting to work on the hand sewing. I started with the nose, and that may have been the beginning of my downfall. What you see here is the first of 3 nose attempts using 2 different noses. Essentially, I sewed this one on, hated it, seam ripped it off, sewed the same one on again, tried to love it, hated it, seam ripped it off again, caved and made a new nose, and then finally sewed it on correctly off camera. So while I'm moving on to the eyebrows here, I came back later for round 3 with the infernal nose of doom. Thankfully, the brows came out just fine, and I could add the final detail, the toesies. With those done, the last thing we need to do is sew up the back of the plush. And now, I think it's about time for some glamour shots. Thank you all so much for watching. An extra special thank you to my Pixie tier and above patrons who make videos like this possible. They also make plushie giveaways like this one possible. This month I'll be giving away this floppy plushie, which typically would be worth over $100 if it were on my shop. So here's how to enter. Head on over to patreon.com/sewmicah or hit the link in the description. Become a Pixie tier or above patron and comment on the new bingo giveaway post, following the topic guidelines written there. And yes, my giveaways are open for international plushie lovers to enter as well, just with slightly different terms and conditions applying regarding shipping. So what are you waiting for? Go get your entry in before August 12th for the chance to win this little cutie. Oh, you're waiting for the second part of the secret word? Well, why didn't you just say so? That'll be OKLYN. There's a reason I said part and not half. So make sure you leave a comment sneakily using the secret word for a chance to be featured at the start of the next video. And remember, that secret word is a hint as to what plushie's coming next. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe to let me know you want to see more videos like these. If you enjoyed this video, check out my Bluey Make a Plushie With Me video over on the right to see why I had to behead Bluey. Or check out the other YouTube recommended video just below that to spice things up.